Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I am Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. And yes, uh, I myself, Rach, our house, survived the flooding of New York City. I guess there's an advantage to being on a slight hill. Joe Lawyer's come over. He's complained about us being on this hill. But so we know it exists. But I got a little water in my basement. I got a little water from the roof into the kitchen. No, technically the hallway outside the bathroom, but all the same. But it could have been so much worse. Our local pub, literally 2 blocks from the house, had 2.5 feet of water in the basement last night. So, and I've seen cars in my neighborhood on lower ground that were obviously pushed by floodwaters. So the effects of weather is huge. I'll probably touch on that one cast because wow. But I was flipping through ENWorld and yes, look at that ENWorld. There are ENWorld has certainly started a renaissance of going back to being a useful resource for anybody who's interested in RPGs. Not everything. All right. Are you still got to pick out the wheat from the chaff? Yes, definitely. But it's a great improvement over the days of somebody whose name I won't mention. And I'm glad to see that Morris has taken a greater responsibility again because he's kept it kind of on the straight and narrow. Man, it really sounds really strange for me to say that. But in any case, an article from Morris on ENWorld is interesting. As $1 million Kickstarter ends, another appears. Now, TTRPG for 5e, never heard of it. Don't really even care about it. It apparently broke the $1 million barrier. Now, this year has nine tabletop RPGs that broke the $1 million tier or the $1 million level of backing. I mean, that's a lot of money to be raised. Even when you start saying, oh, well, Kickstarter takes their percent and payment processing takes their percent. So you've already lost 15%, then tax, whatever. I know the shit. I've heard the shit. $1 million, even with inflation, it's still a lot of money. Okay? 9 Kickstarters have hit that this year. That's going to be interesting because you know how many hit it last year? 0. So, The One Ring, 2nd edition. I'm a backer. The Seeker's Guide to Twisted Taverns. Maybe I heard of it. Not quite sure. Coyote and Crow, the role-playing game. Never heard of it. Grim Hollow, the Monster Grimoire. Whatever. Ouroboros, Coils of the Serpent. You never. Helana's Guide to Monster Hunting. Yeah. Dungeons of Drakenheim. No. Avatar Legends, the role-playing game. Yeah, no. And Tanaris RPG 5e, which is apparently still funding and has passed $1 million. And this isn't even counting things like the new edition of Hero Quest that was crowdfunded by Hasbro on Hasbro's own site, so they didn't have to give up a percentage to somebody like Kickstarter, which raised, I believe, well over $1 million. So the interesting stats here is that Kickstarter launched in 2009, and I probably started backing shit shortly thereafter. The first $1 million Kickstarter was in 2016. All right. And that's when everybody started saying, oh, John Wick's, was it the 7 Seas? Or everybody who had an idea was like, I can make $1 million on Kickstarter. Not going to name names. But we named the name yesterday. So if you listen to the live stream, Mike named a name. And it's one of the individuals that thought that there was easy money to be made from Kickstarter. And the easy money in Kickstarter was up front. It was in those early years when it was the Wild West, when people weren't making $1 million on a Kickstarter, at least not in our industry. But they were still making good money for ideas, not actually delivering product. 2018 had one. 2019 had two. 2020, the year of the pandemic, had none. Now, interesting, right? To this year, we just finished the 8th month of the year, and we have 9. Why would we be seeing such a huge jump in $1 million Kickstarters? I didn't read Morris's article, not because I don't think it's good. It could be good, but I didn't want to be rehashing any of Morris's ideas because I read them. But I suspect that there is this idea of 2020 was a year of hell, right? And 2021, even with all the Delta variant shit, is still a year of hope and rebirth, right? So the end, lots of stimulus, right? A lot of stimulus money here in the States. A lot of people, I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing, unemployed, with extra money coming in on top of their regular unemployment, unemployed because of COVID, good salaries, and literally nothing to do with their time. Are you more likely in those situations to back a project that you can go, well, maybe I'll have a chance to read this stuff. Look at all this free time I have. I think there's a lot of that going on. Now, will this carry over to next year? I don't know. We're already looking at increased inflation and possibly a pullback of the economy. So maybe that will start to not be hitting those numbers. But I'll tell you right now, there are dreamers out there. There are people who see, my God, there are $9 million plus Kickstarters in tabletop RPGs. One of those should be mine. My next whatever should be $1 million. Now, we have to remember too, folks. When you're looking at $1 million Kickstarter, it's not like you're producing a PDF, right? And after taxes, after fees, after Kickstarter gets their share, it's all profit. No, it's mostly obligations. So I don't know how much $1 million Kickstarter actually leaves behind for one to spend, to actually earn. I would love to talk to some people who've had $1 million Kickstarter and find out. It'd be an interesting conversation. But I would suspect that with many of these, yes, there is money made, but I think it's even more important for these companies that they've gotten the recognition. Hopefully they are getting an actual repetitive, regular income flow from their products, not just a one-time influx of Kickstarter money. Kickstarter is great to get you noticed and get you out there, but you got to be able to. One project is not going to allow you to retire or even make a business out of this, make a living off of this. So interesting. I want to thank Morris for that. Doing crunching numbers. I like numbers. God, I'm sorry. I apologize for that, folks. Just a quick note: we are still in the midst of the world of COVID. I've touched upon it. Use your common sense. I'm not a medical professional. All right. I personally don't care whether you get vaccinated or not. That's a personal decision. You know your risk factors. Your doctor knows your risk factors. Do what is right for you and your loved ones. But that's what you got to worry about. You and your loved ones. Be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice, and God willing, I'll be back again tomorrow. Glenn Hallstrom, Dungeons, Dragons, and Discourse returns. Dun, dun, dun. All right, folks.